what's up, everybody? It's another Thursday, so it's Top 10 Thursday. I'm here with Mike Mustafa as always. Today is level 4 damage spells, so we're moving right along. And the way we did it last week, I started off with Mike. I'm going to start off with him again, so he can do his honorable mention if he has one, or his start at his 10.
I do have an honorable mention today. It is going to be Elemental Bane.
Mm-hmm.
I like this spell a lot. It's got a lot of utility, but it's not very high in terms of the amount of damage that it can do. It's got a range of 90 feet, requires concentration for 1 minute. The target makes a Constitution save. On a failed save, you choose a damage type between acid, cold, fire, lightning, or thunder. They lose resistance to that type of damage while the spell is in effect. And any spell that deals damage of that type during the concentration deals an additional 2d6 worth of that damage. So it is a great way to kind of debuff your opponent in a fight. If you know that they are resistant to fire, you can say, okay, you're no longer resistant to fire, and then your wizard can just fling fireballs at them till they die.
That's a very good utility spell. Damage
so.
And utility. The one thing I did notice about these level 4 is a lot of them are concentration. There were a lot of concentration spells.
I noticed that too. And I ranked mine accordingly.
Oh, did you? Okay. See, I didn't even put that into context, I don't think. Yeah. I literally, unlike the last one, this one I did solely based on damage. And I was going to ask you a question before we started recording, and I forgot. So I was going to flip something if you explained it differently, but you can explain it if I don't understand it in another way.
I'm very curious to see where a certain spell falls on the list.
I don't know. Okay, we'll see what happens. So my honorable mention for this one is Shadow of Moil. I like the description. Number one, it does 2d8 necrotic damage. It has a range of yourself, and it's 1 minute concentration. But I just thought it was really, the way it was said until the end of the spell, you have resistance to radiant damage. So it's got utility for you. In addition, a creature within 10 feet of you hits you with an attack, and a shadow lashes out and does 2d8 necrotic damage. So I just thought it was a really interesting necromancy spell, and also has some utility in it as well, especially if you know that you're dealing with something that is dealing a lot of radiant damage.
Absolutely. My number 10 is Ivard's Black Tentacles, or Black Tentacles. They're apparently just the same thing. There's a few spells that do that, and I don't understand why. Has a range of 90 feet, creates a 20-foot square of difficult terrain for up to 1 minute as long as you're concentrating on it. When a creature enters the square for the first time, they have to make a dexterity saving throw. If they fail, it is 3d6 damage, and they are restrained. As long as they are restrained in this way, at the beginning of their turn, they take an additional 3d6 damage, and they get to remake the saving throw. The reason that I have it at number 10 is because, as far as I read it, if they make the save their first time, it has no effect on them. So it's kind of a risk reward. But it seems like a really cool spell and a great visual.
Exactly. And
massive black tentacles just...
I think we like the visuals, and whoever writes these does a really good job of describing what they are.
They do.
So it happened again. My number 10 is Black Tentacles. And this was one I was going to ask you about, because all the same reasons of you. But my question was, and I think you answered it. So when they move into it, in the first time, they take 3d6 bludgeoning damage and are restrained on a failed dexterity saving throw. But then it's that next part that I was wondering about, was a creature starts its turn in this area and is already restrained by the tentacles, takes 3d6. So you would deal it to them when they first get in there, but then on their turn they take another 3d6, right?
That is correct.
Okay, and see, I read it wrong earlier, thinking it was 66 on one hit. That's why I had it up higher, but I was like, no, wait, that doesn't sound right.
Yeah. But like I said, if they at any point make the dexterity saving throw, it deals no damage to them. So if right off the bat they roll well, you just kind of wasted your spell. But it can be good if you've got like mobs of smaller creatures. My number 9 is Shadow of Moyle. Again, 1 minute concentration, resistance to radiant damage, creates magical darkness within 10 feet of you, which is kind of cool. And the 2d8 necrotic damage whenever you're hit by a creature within 10 feet of you can really add up over time. Seems like a really fun spell, something that I'm excited to get to use soon.
And I completely forgot about that part of it, to where it does you become heavily obscured to others because of the shadows that are around you. And the coolest part about this too, again, the utility, once you said that, turning dim light within 10 feet of you into darkness and bright light into dim light can also help if you're fighting things that don't have dark vision and your people do.
Absolutely.
Give you a little bit more advantage on it.
Absolutely.
All right. My number 9 is Storm Spear. It is a, oh my goodness, I can't even, it's got a 150-foot range, 20-foot, is that radius? Yes, it's a sphere that causes whirling air to just swirl around. It does 2d6 bludgeoning damage for each creature within the sphere, or that ends its turn in that sphere, and they must make a strength saving throw to not take that damage. The other thing about it too is that I really liked about it was until the end of the spell, you can use your bonus action with the 1 minute concentration, and you can call forth lightning to strike a creature of your choice at 46, and they take 46 lightning damage. And you also have advantage on that attack for the creatures that are inside that sphere, if that's the one that you're hitting.
Yep. Great spell. A lot of fun. My number 8 is Sickening Radiance. It is 10-minute concentration, which is a long time. Creates a 30-foot sphere up to 150 feet away. All creatures in the sphere have to make Constitution saves. If they fail, they take 4d10 radiant damage, 1 level of exhaustion, and cannot be invisible. They gain no effects from invisibility. Up to 40 damage and a level of exhaustion. I don't see the invisibility as being a major role player, but it is another nice bit of utility. That seems like an awesome spell, all in all. And 150-foot range, 30-foot sphere is pretty versatile. Like, you can put it pretty much anywhere that you want in the encounter. The downside to it is, as far as I read, if they succeed on the saving throw, it does nothing to them. So, again, risk reward, but the upside is really high.
Yes, it is. And my number 8 was Sickening Radiance. And all the same reasons you had. My biggest thing about it is exactly what you said. It does seem like if they roll really well, you're kind of screwed. And then also 10 minutes of concentration. That is, that's a long time. And again, fights probably wouldn't last that long, but that's so much time for something to get close enough to you to do damage, or if you have to cast something else to protect yourself to stop that concentration.
Yeah. Number 7 for me is going to be Ice Storm. It is a 300-foot range, creates a 20-foot cylinder, I think 40 feet tall, if I read it correctly.
Yep, 40 feet tall.
Everything inside of the cylinder makes a dexterity saving throw, taking 2d8 bludgeoning damage and 46 cold damage. And everything in that area also becomes difficult terrain. So I like it. It's not a concentration spell, so it is just the one shot, but you have the potential to isolate several creatures in the encounter from anywhere on the field, being that it's a 300-foot range, giving you some time to kind of set up, regroup, whatever you need to do. And it has a damage cap of 40 damage, which is pretty awesome.
Yes, and that was one that I was hemming and hawing about a little bit, and then to say for a third time it's happened on this list, that's where mine was.
I think as we get fewer damage spells to choose from, this will happen more often.
Yeah. So just to say it is number 7 is Ice Storm for me as well. I mean, it seems like it'd be really fun. Also, since I play a druid, I can't wait to get it because I would definitely use it. I just really think that, like you said, it has a lot of upside, especially if you are losing the fight and you can create difficult terrain for everybody to get back and put some distance between you and whatever's coming at you.
My number 6 is going to be Storm Spear. All the same reasons as you: 1 minute concentration, 150 feet range, 20-foot sphere, strength saving throw. In addition to the 2d8 bludgeoning damage inside of the sphere, it's also difficult terrain, which is awesome. And the lightning bolt that you can shoot as a bonus action afterwards can be up to 60 feet away from the sphere. So it's awesome because you get to use your bonus action instead of your action to create the lightning bolts. You can situate it pretty much anywhere that you want, and then just kind of like a Tesla arc, just pew, 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 as a bonus action for the entirety of the fight, provided that you can keep concentration up. So seems like a really good spell.
Yeah, and I mean, it's just like you've always said before too. The whole thing is you can use that bonus action, do it, and then heal somebody. It's just gonna help you help your party out and dealing a lot of damage and any type of utility spells.
Getting to do things as a bonus action or a reaction is just so valuable.
All right, my number 6 is something I think, once I read this, that all arcane tricksters, if you're a rogue, should have. It is Faithful Hound. It is an 8-hour duration, and you conjure a phantom watchdog that occupies a space that you can see within range, which is up to 30 feet. The cool thing about it is the hound is invisible, and no one can hear it or see it but you. And anything that comes within 30 feet of you, without, there's a password or a safe word that you have to have. So they would bark to allow you to know that something is within 30 feet of you, including invisible creatures, which it can see.
Interestingly enough, sorry, my Faithful Hound is barking. Pause for just a moment.
Yeah. That was a perfect time. That was perfect timing for that.
That was funny. Sorry, continue.
The other cool thing about this spell to me, before even getting to the damage of it, is it ignores illusions. So if you're in a place where they're throwing off illusions and you think there's a big creature in front of you or something like that, if the dog doesn't bark, then it's not, real. Absolutely. So you'll be able to kind of skip through a lot of that stuff. But the damage aspect of it is that at the start of your turn, the hound does try to bite something that is within 5 feet of you and that has to be hostile towards you. And you use your spellcasting modifier plus your proficiency bonus to figure out what the attack bonus is. And then if it hits, it deals 4d8 piercing damage. So to me, that's a lot of damage. That's what, 36 damage? Wait,
32.
No, I can't add 32 damage. It allows you to tell if something's an illusion. It sees invisible creatures. It also it lets you know if something's within 30 feet of you as well. And it lasts for 8 hours. I mean, hell, that's majority of a game. You cast it at the beginning of one of your sessions and you've got it all the way to the end, unless you take a long rest or a short rest.
Absolutely. That was number 6?
6, yes.
All right. My number 5 is Wall of Fire. Mm-hmm. Awesome spell, 120 feet range. Yeah. 1 minute concentration. You can create a wall of fire that is dimensions of 20 feet long. 60 feet long by 20 feet high and a foot thick. Or you can do a 20-foot circle, also 20 feet tall, 1 foot thick. Anything that is in the area when it appears has to make a dexterity saving throw. If they fail, they take 5d8 fire damage, and you get to designate one side to be hot and one side to be safe. So then anything within 10 feet at the start of their turn from the side that you designate as the damage side is going to take an additional 5d8 fire damage every turn. So I really like this spell. It deals awesome damage. It has great utility. You can put it up as a barrier to protect yourself, protect your party, and still deal damage at the same time to anything on the other side of it. The way that I like to use it, and I've used it several times as a DM, is to just conjure it up and trap 2 or 3 people in this circle of fire, which is an excellent visual, great way to control the board and isolate certain creatures in an encounter. And it deals, I mean, up to 40 damage every turn is awesome.
It's a very, very good spell. It'd be fun to use too. Again, Druid, fun. Yay, get to do it. My number 5 is Wall of Fire for the exact same reasons. The damage is really good. I would think I would put it in a 20-foot diameter though, to encircle the group. So if they try to back away from you, it's going to hurt them. If they come forward or they try to go, off to the sides, they still have to walk through it and take that damage. So I think
you can
that.
You can also, if you want, if your party is standing close together, you can make it a circle around you and make the outside hot.
That is true. Yeah. So a very good utility damage spell, if you ask me. I think it has a lot of versatility to use in that.
Yeah. My number 4 is Fire Shield.
Really? That was going to be my honorable mention.
I had never read this spell before, but this seems like an awesome spell. The reasons: it lasts for 10 minutes. Mm-hmm. It is not concentration. So you can pull it up before you go into a fight. You know that it's going to last all the way through. You don't have to worry about it. Creates bright light in a 10-foot radius around you, and then dim light from 10 feet out from there. You get to choose whether it is a hot shield or a cold shield, and you gain resistance accordingly. So if it's a hot shield, you gain resistance to fire, and if it's a cold shield, you gain resistance to cold. Additionally, whenever you are hit with a melee attack, it deals 2d8 of the corresponding damage type back to the target. So it gives you a little bit of protection versus either fire or cold, your choice. It lasts the entirety of the fight, and over the course of the fight, the damage is really going to add up. Just 2d8 anytime you get hit can really swing things in your favor.
Oh, yeah. Now, here's a question, though. So I think if it was armor, I think I would know the answer. But if you do use this and you're in a cold environment, would that shield give you enough heat? Like if it was, 0 degrees?
I don't see why not.
Okay. I mean, I think maybe that would be up to.
Yeah, that would be at the DM's discretion, but I would probably rule that it would. Yeah.
Yeah. And then if you're in, a volcano, you got the ice that can keep you a little bit cold.
Yeah.
Keep your drinks nice and chilly. My number 4 is Phantasmal Killer. I love the description of it. You tap into nightmares of a creature you can see within range and create an illusionary manifestation of its deepest fear. That just is awesome. Then they have to make a wisdom saving throw, or they become frightened for the duration of the spell, which is 1 minute concentration, and it has a range of 120 feet. At the end of the turn, that character has to make another wisdom saving throw, or it takes 4d6 psychic damage. It could have probably been a little bit lower because just like some of the other ones, if they succeed on it, the spell ends. So even if you're concentrating, they can break it with a really good roll. But just pure damage, if you're fighting something that doesn't have a lot of wisdom, you can definitely, hurl that at it, make it frightened of you, and then just deal 40 damage to it if you roll perfect.
Yep. That was going to be my honorable mention. Just because the downside of the no effect, and it only targets one creature. Right. My number 3 is Vitriolic Spear. It has a range of 120 feet, and it creates 150 feet, and it creates a 20-foot sphere. Everything inside the sphere makes a dexterity saving throw. On a failed save, they take 10d4 acid damage, and then at the start of their next turn, they take an additional 5d4 acid damage. If they succeed on the save, they take half of the initial damage and no damage at the start of their next turn. The reason that I have it so high is it has the potential to do up to 60 damage to multiple creatures. It has a floor of 5 damage if they make their save, 15 damage if they fail their save. So I really like spells that require you to roll more dice just because the minimum damage is going to be higher. The floor is always going to be higher on a spell like this than a spell that could potentially deal more damage.
All right. Well, my number 3 is Gravity Sinkhole. It's a 120-foot range, 20-foot radius sphere of just force that you can, that just deals a shit ton of damage. I mean, each creature that's in that sphere has to make a Constitution saving throw. And if they fail it, they take 5d10 force damage, and they're pulled in a straight line towards the center of the sphere. Now, that could be something where somebody could put, you do a wall of fire, and then you've got some creatures trapped, and the next person drops this gravity sinkhole in it, and then you do 5d10. Let's say you hit it with 50, and then it pulls them through the fire, causing them to take 5d8 damage. I was like looking at it in that type of way as well.
That is really clever. I like that a lot.
Yeah. So I just thought it was really cool. And I mean, if you want to say it's a downside, if they succeed on their saving throw, the creature takes half as much damage and isn't pulled, but it's still going to take,
still gonna
a good amount of damage.
Yeah. My number 2 is, I'm guessing your number 1, Blight. It requires a Constitution saving throw, and it can target anything within 30 feet. On a failed save, the target takes 8d8 necrotic damage, which is 64 maximum, which is a hell of a lot of damage. It also withers non-magical plants. Magic plants make their saving throw with disadvantage, and it does not work on undead or constructs. So it has a huge damage potential, but it also has some utility in that if you are in a jungle and you need to clear a path, you can just blight, and whatever you're pointing at is going to just drop. Now you have a way through. Against some potential monsters, it can just end the fight immediately.
Yes.
Based on the withering and dying aspect of it. So it is just, I think, a really cool and powerful spell.
It is, and one thing that you forgot to mention is when they make their saving throw with disadvantage for a magical plant or a plant creature. If they fail it, the spell deals the maximum amount of damage it can. There's no rolling on it.
Yes, that is correct.
So I mean, that's 64 damage right there on a failed, save. So that's why it's my number 1, but I'll get to that in a second.
Yeah.
All right, my number 2 is Vitriolic Sphere. Everything you said, I mean, again, if you go by pure damage, this is the second most damaging spell with up to 60 damage possible. And being able to take half as much damage if they succeed, and then they don't take damage on the next turn. I mean, you're still doing at most 40 damage if they do succeed on it.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I don't know what else to say about it other than 150 foot. A lot of these spells too, Mike, have you noticed they're like 150 foot ranges now? Or
everything has a huge range.
Yeah.
I did make a note of that.
Yeah, I just wish it was like 150 range in a 60-foot sphere. just kill everything.
My number one spell is, after having read it, it is now my favorite spell in Dungeons and Dragons.
Mm-hmm.
Hands down. Faithful Hound.
You know what? I don't have an issue with that. I think that's amazing, actually.
Yeah. So everything that Robert said has an 8-hour duration. The only restriction is that it has to stay within 100 feet of you.
Mm-hmm.
It is invisible to all other creatures. You're the only one that can see it, the only one that can hear it. It can see invisibility. It ignores illusions. It also cannot be harmed.
Yep.
They can't kill it at all. That's amazing.
Yeah.
It does bark to alert you to anything size small or larger, any creature coming your way within 30 feet of you. So you are always going to know if you're about to be ambushed. It can see into the ethereal plane. It gets to attack every turn one hostile creature within 5 feet of it for 4d8 piercing damage. Given that the duration of this spell is 8 hours, that's actually the reason that I have it as number one on the list. It carries over to multiple encounters. If you're running through a dungeon, it's going to be with you the entire dungeon. Over that amount of time, it can deal hundreds of damage.
Yeah, I didn't even think of it that way.
Yeah,
I mean, I even said it's with you for a whole session, pretty much. I mean, a whole, part of it.
It can deal hundreds of damage potentially. And the final reason that it is my number one spell is it's a dog.
Yeah.
Who doesn't want to have a heckin' good boy on their quests with them?
Yes.
Come on.
I think it's kind of weird that it doesn't deal. It's only for, what is it, wizards and arcane tricksters and eldritch knights. I'm kind of shocked, just it being an animal. It wouldn't be with druids, but or druids could not use that.
I thought druids or rangers maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, the fact that it's wizard and eldritch knights and arcane tricksters, that is a little strange.
Yeah, who knows? There might be a variant somewhere that we don't know about that it can. Who knows?
Yeah,
there's so many variants to everything now.
There are some ways to pick up spells from other classes, although I'm not sure if there's anyone that would allow you to do this. But who knows?
Who knows? All right, so my number one, you already called it, was Blight, and purely for the damage is 64 damage. But now rethinking what you said on the Hound, I'd probably swap that. I would probably put Faithful Hound at number one.
Such a good boy.
Such a good boy. But Blight, I don't know. You said everything about it. 8d8 necrotic damage. Again, to me, the best thing is the creature fails its throw, and it's a plant creature or magical plant. It takes the maximum amount of damage. I mean, and you got to think, at this level, you're not going to be meeting something that's going to have 400 hit points. It might only have 120 hit points. So that's 2 rounds. Can't wait to get this far with my character and start playing with some of these other ones.
That is one of the upsides of doing these videos, is I get to look at spells that normally I wouldn't even consider. Gives me cool character creation ideas.
Yeah, and that's the other thing too. That's what I was thinking about too. Is you might not get this till what is that? It's 4th level spells, but what's the level?
7.
7. You might not get it till 7, but you could know that's the route you're going to go, and then build upon from level 1 to level 7 other spells that will incorporate and work with that to help you become this thing that just kills everything.
You can take Acid Arrow at level, I think it's 2, and take Expeditious Retreat, and then pick up Faithful Hound, and you now have a wizard that plays like a ranger.
But we all know how you feel about Rangers.
I mean, I'll say this: if the Ranger got Faithful Hound,
Well, actually, you know how you could get it? One level of Ranger and then 7 levels of Wizard.
that's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say, I know everybody in the comments are going to be like, yeah, but Rangers can get actual animals. But actual animals are not invisible and can be harmed. So
Yes. And
Faithful Hound is better.
yes. So I will be figuring out a character to play with that. So that does it for Top 10 Thursdays. Level 4 damage spells. Next week, we'll bring you level 5 damage spells on Thursday. Hopefully, I won't have a bunch of internet issues and I can get it up a lot quicker than I did last time. So, everybody, thanks for watching. If you're listening and I turn this into a podcast, thanks for listening. Y'all all have a great rest of your day and the weekend coming up. And we'll see you next time. Peace.
Peace.